Welcome everybody today to Call to the Cross. As always, the podcast is about all things Jesus. We have a very special guest with us here today, Sister Garrett Maneth. She and her husband Shane are the assistant pastors here at the Fusion Church, and she is the director, head honcho of our drug recovery ministry. So we want to say welcome, and how are you today, Sister Garrett?
I'm good, thank you.
Amen. We like to start this off every time by asking our guests to give us their conversion story, how they came to Jesus. So how did the Lord become the Lord of your life?
Well, I didn't know God at all, and I grew up in a house that was very dysfunctional. My dad was an active crack addict my whole life. He owned bars, and so I grew up in bars, and most people do like Christmas dinner. We had Christmas parties, and it just was different, and I didn't know it was different until I got much older and went to houses that were what we would call normal, and I had friends that were Christians, but they never talked to me about their faith at all. So I didn't really have a whole lot of hope. I remember when my dad went to prison, he sold our house out from under us to pay for his bills, but we didn't know. And then the person holding the deed come and told us we had a week to leave. So when that happened, I think I was 10. And we had to move to Hosford, and it went from like a 4-bedroom home to a 2-bedroom trailer that was just a lot smaller, and so we had to get rid of everything. So at 10, I didn't have a whole lot of hope. I remember praying, but I didn't even know who I was praying to. Honestly, I was praying to Michael Jackson. I was just like, I wish somebody like that would just come see where we are and save us and help us, because in my mind, I was just trying to think of anybody that had influence, and that's a person that, at 10, he wasn't crazy yet. So he was still a little bit normal, but so my whole family, I went like that. My sister got strung out on crack really bad, where we didn't really see her that much. And when she was graduating high school, my dad had got out of prison, and it stayed like that for a very long time. My dad and my mom fought. He was very violent. He'd hit anybody. He'd fight anybody. And so I never knew what the night was going to come, because as soon as he got out of prison, my mom went right back to him, which I always had anxiety about, what he's going to do when he comes home. And so fast forward to me turning 17 or 16. I had a job since I was 15, and I thought I just want to get a job, and I'll just be a better person, a better member of society. Well, I went to CNA school, and I got an art scholarship. When my dad said he wasn't going to pay for me to go do that, and then they wouldn't pay for me to get my CNA license, you had to pay like $80 to take a test, and they wouldn't pay for neither one of them things, and I really didn't have no way. I felt, why do I even try? But I also probably liked to party. I was getting into that age, and I was molested as a child, so I didn't have a whole lot of value on myself, and I felt like, this is all I am. So I thought in my head, I'm going to be a professional partier. I'll just use what the Lord gave me to be this. And from that age, it was self-destructive mode. I lived where I lived, I partied, what everybody had, I did. I do remember the first time I done coke, I knew that it was the devil, and I didn't even really know nothing, but I said, that is the devil. I think something internally we know, even though I didn't know. Well, eventually my dad, at 50 years old, he went by a church in Hosford, Mount Zion Pentecostal Church, and their steeple was down, and he is an awesome construction worker. I mean, he is just awesome. And he said in himself, I'd like to help them put that up there. I could do that. Well, he hit Old Bristol Road. He'd come from sawdust. He had his probation that day, so he had peed clean. So he was going back home to do his crack. he threw it out the window that day in his Slits beer.
Praise God.
And he said that he talked to the Lord. He said, if you save my family, I'll serve you.
Wow.
And that night, Gene Jordan, that went to that church, which he didn't know, he rode by and said he wanted to help that steeple. He called him and invited him to church that night. And he said, well, what church is it? He said, you can't miss it. We have a steeple in the yard. He's like, I know exactly where you are. So that kind of started that journey for me, Billy, and Sherry, which is my brother, and my sister, Sheree. By this time, she was doing meth, which I had done meth also. With her, she just took it and just ran with it. I personally was like, we're awake for days. Like, I don't really know if I want to be this way.
Right.
I don't know. The Lord, I guess, guarded me from that. And she started going to church there also and just had this radical change. They got filled with the Holy Ghost. I thought they were crazy and possessed or something. I didn't know what was going on. And they was like, just go, just go. I was 24, I think, in between 24 and 26. I'm terrible with numbers, but I went to Word of Truth in Bluntstown. And I didn't even I come in on preaching. I felt something in the air. I swear it looked like fog was in the room. I know there was not. But I walked away out of that place feeling lighter. And I felt, I've seen him see me from a child being hurt, from a teenager being stupid. And it just, I felt God, and I said, I want more of that.
Amen.
Yeah, and so that's how it started. And then I just eat, breathe, everything. I had me a little spotlight on my head. I'd read my Bible every night so I wouldn't wake Shane up, and I wanted to know this.
That is an awesome testimony, by the way. The cool thing about that I was hearing when you're talking is that's actually a good place to be, because lots of people that live quote unquote a normal life, they don't realize that they're also self-destructive.
Yeah,
we're all that way. You know, the Bible says we're born in sin and shaped in iniquity. And you know, I was talking with some people earlier. We as people, we like to rank things. We rank sin. This is a bad sin, this is not as bad, but God don't do that. It's all sin to him.
Yeah.
He doesn't rank it. Like you don't see something that's being hard or easy. It's all the same to God. There's no hard cases or easy cases. To us, we say, oh, that person, they're down deep. It'd be hard to get them saved, but it's not to God. And it's sad because, you know, people that come up hard, for lack of a better way to say it, it seems like they're way more easily led by God. It's like they because they see themselves. They know that, well, this is terrible, you know, and it's kind of a theme. I heard you say that, you know, I didn't want to be that way, and I think it's a mistake that lots of people make about folks that are lost. I remember Brother Alan, giving his testimony, said that. He says, I don't want to live like this.
Yep.
Because when you start off, I mean, most people start drugs if you're young, and the partying, they like that's fun to them, or maybe because everybody else is doing it. And you obviously know from experience where drugs take you, though, that is no fun.
Yes.
It's a terrible life. But I think because people recognize what's, you know, good for them or bad for them in that situation, they say, God, I need you. I need your help. Whereas people that aren't necessarily, they may live what we call the perfect picket fence life. And oftentimes they never ever admit their need for God. So I think it's awesome.
I think that's the saddest state that we can see somebody in, is thinking they're okay. You know, when I tell my girls over at the recovery to witness, and I said, don't only witness to the person holding the 40 at the convenience store door, witness to the person that's driving up in the BMW that think he doesn't need anything, you know, because they're lost souls too. And, you know, we as the church have to stop looking in our little human eyes and look through our spiritual eyes, because if we looked like God looked, we would see a whole bunch of people headed for hell. And that is kind of how I know that, because what I seen when I was drinking and when I was partying, I was on college property, at parties with a bunch of people that their mamas and their daddies was paying thousands of dollars because their kid is in sports and they're valedictorian and they're going to school, but they were hitting lines just as I was hitting lines.
That's right.
And the reason I was there because they could afford it. so and some of them same people are still caught up in that, but their family refuses to see it because they come from good stock or whatever you want to call that, but it's the truth, and it's a very sad thing because they're all lost in sin. But I see it every day in it's just what we've made it. We've made all these kids where if you're making straight A's and you're doing this, you're okay. Well, them same people are the people that are all having sex.
Oh, yeah.
They're all doing drugs. I mean, you work in the school system, you see it, and these people, these parents think that it's not happening. Half of them people were in 80% of them people were in the what is that, future?
FCA.
Yes,
Yeah.
leading it, praying it, singing it, bringing their little guitar to school and be singing the gospels and then having sex in the gazebos.
I was gonna say that because when you were saying, that's exactly what I was thinking of. That a large majority of the young people that are involved in those things, they do go to church.
Mm-hmm.
They do go to church, and they're under the false delusion that, well, because I do believe that God exists, I'm okay.
Yes.
And that's not enough.
Mm-mm.
It's not enough just to believe. The Bible said that the devils believe and tremble.
And tremble.
Yeah, they're afraid. They know that
Yep.
God's real, so it's not just enough just to know. I had a buddy one time that I was witnessing to that I played ball with, and he said, I'm saved. I got a Bible in my house. I'm like, Lord, got a Bible in your house? Brother, that's not what gets it done. There's got to be an active work
Yes.
of God in your life.
Yep.
But it's sad because I see that, and that's one of the frustrating things about seeing young folks in the area that I'm working at right now, is that so many of them are professing to be Christian, professing to be a believer, but their lives are no different than the person that they're trying to get. Because I'll just be honest with you, they base it on church. I go to church, so I'm okay, and we know it's not enough.
Yeah.
The old preacher used to say this: going to church don't make you any more a Christian than going to the car store makes you a Cadillac.
That's right, and that's truth. And I think that too many people, I think the Church of America has dwindled it down to when I even talk to these ladies, they aren't thinking heaven and hell.
Come on.
They're not thinking this is a heaven or hell issue. Maybe I'm here right now because I'm about to die and the Lord sees it and He's trying to call on my soul right now. Because I tell them all the time, you can fall out of this chair dead. You've shot drugs up, your heart probably ain't working right. You could die any second, and eternity is heaven or hell.
That's right. That's what
You're
it
either
said.
going to burn in hell, which we don't say enough. I don't think that we get it in our children's minds enough because it might hurt their feelings or they might not feel accepted or whatever. We have watered it down so much that people think there's going to be this U-turn when they get to the judgment seat. Hold on. Let me take the side step really quick. And it's really not like that. And if we don't start telling them when they're young, I told my kids, you cannot ride on my coattail.
Well, that's true.
You have to find this on your own. And I remember when Kayla and Dustin had a rocky, they were young. They loved each other. I'm like, y'all lusting. It's like, you're lusting after each other. But they loved each other. They're married now, but I had to rein it back for a whole year. They had no phones. They couldn't talk. I mean, Kayla was very obedient. When she seen him in the hall, she'd go to the other side. He was scared to talk to her. She was scared to talk to him. So a whole year we had to break them up so they could get real with the Lord. And I remember coming home one day, and it wasn't provoked, but Kayla was... I went to the grocery store. Kayla was in there in her space finding the Lord. I mean, she had the worship music on. She was in there just travailing in the spirit. She didn't need me anymore. And that was, I didn't even go in. I just sat outside on the steps, just listening to her. And it was the most beautiful thing. And that's, when they get to that age of accountability, are you instilling enough in them that they can go to the Lord? And
If you or someone you know need help getting free from the addiction and bondage of drugs, please call Fusion Women's Recovery at the number on the screen. All the services offered by Fusion Women's Recovery are free of charge. God bless you. We're praying for you.